Hello all, and welcome to Hangar 412, the show that gives you the rundown on the lore and technology behind some of our favorite vehicles in fiction. And in this episode, we'll be taking a quick look at a couple commercial spaceliners from the Halo universe, responsible for saving countless lives across the Milky Way galaxy. Now, neither one of these vessels has ever been given an official name by Bungie or 343, so I'll just be using the placeholder names given on Halopedia. The first of these vessels we'll be looking at is simply known as the Civilian Transport Craft, mostly known for her small role in Halo Reach. This transport craft has an overall length of 90.11 meters, which is roughly 295.63 feet, with a width of 67.52 meters, which again is roughly 221.52 feet, and a height of 28.90 meters, which is roughly 94.83 feet. All while sitting on the ground, so that's counting the landing gear too. This transport can also carry around 600 passengers across 3 decks, which is interesting because that's around 250 less than the maximum carrying capacity of an Airbus A380 from our own world, which is pretty close to the same size, if not just slightly smaller than this craft here. And to me at least, it seems the most likely reason for this discrepancy between scale and passenger capacity is that large area underneath the main fuselage of the aircraft, which can carry up to 5 large shipping or cargo containers. These cargo containers measure in with a length of 5.37 meters or roughly 17.61 feet, a width of 12 meters or roughly 39.37 feet, and a height of 6.53 meters or 21.42 feet. And as it appears, at least from everything I can tell, that this area to carry shipping containers is in place of a standard cargo bay. Now, I can only speculate as to the reason for this design decision, but a couple theories I have is it could simply just be for easier onloading and offloading of the craft's cargo. Simply as that. Or it could have something to do with the economics of passenger and cargo transport. Now, I'm not going to get into all the details here, so basically the TLDR is transporting people doesn't tend to return as much of a profit, if any, as much as transporting goods does. Just look at how most passenger airlines or even rail lines tend to run at a deficit or on a razor-thin budget, held aloft by massive government subsidies or government funding almost entirely. I mean, almost every country in the world has its own state airline. And if you look at, plenty of the videos here on YouTube, on why America doesn't have good trains, they can explain the economics a little bit better. But suffice it to say that basically transporting freight tends to return more of a profit than transporting people. So it is likely that they designed this ship in this way so that they could transport mail, goods, and stuff like that to offset the cost of transporting the people. And we have examples of this in the past where passenger rail lines used to have freight cars on them, where even to this day, airlines still carry a lot of mail and a lot of goods in the cargo bay along with the passengers to offset the cost of transporting the passengers. So I hope that kind of makes sense. So that's just my theory on why the craft was designed this way. Now, I can't prove if this was an intended part of the spacecraft's design, but it is interesting. With this craft's impressive vertical takeoff and landing capabilities, the ship could retrieve and deliver cargo to areas and people inaccessible by other vehicles. And we're talking, again, these massive shipping containers that would be so useful to be able to deliver to, disaster areas, war zones, humanitarian crisis areas, whatever that would be called. And, you could set up anything in those little shipping containers. I've seen them used for, drone stations. You can use them for little medical wards. You could, of course, deliver all the supplies and goods you need in them. And you wouldn't even need a runway. So you could deliver massive amounts of aid without any real need for infrastructure. Which I can tell you there are plenty of people at FEMA that would see this craft as a godsend for that exact reason. Just as craft in our own world that were originally designed for commercial use can find their way into many different roles, from military service to being used as emergency evacuation craft, as we saw with the recent evacuations in Afghanistan. This craft served heavily in the evacuations during the invasion of Reach. And one of the more notable examples of the craft finding its way into military service was a ship designated DS-004 operating as a diplomatic shuttle, DS, for ambassadors to Elin 4 to attend peace talks between the Sangheili elites and the Jurulhani brutes in 2558. However, the craft was destroyed by a squadron of Banshees operated by Covenant mercenaries. Now, the next ship we'll be looking at, we'll just be taking a quick one-paragraph look at, is simply known as the Unidentified Cargo Ship. This spacecraft was first seen in Halo Wars during the evacuation of Perth on Arcadia in 2531. Several of these craft were also used to evacuate the population of Agolis during the Covenant invasion of 2548. Probably one of the most famous examples of one of these ships serving in the UNSC inventory was the UNSC Dartmouth. That was attacked in 2517 by insurrectionist forces upon exiting slipstream space in the Eridanus system. And the crew were unfortunately determined all KIA before the frigate UNSC Journeyman could arrive to render aid. Well, I hope you all enjoyed this quick look at what I feel are a couple really underappreciated spacecraft from the Halo franchise. And I have to say, I would love to see the lore on these craft fleshed out a bit more. Maybe something in like a visual dictionary or a cross-sections book. I've heard rumors of them working on another Halo encyclopedia. That would be pretty cool. So maybe something in there. Maybe even a multiplayer map very similar to Modern Warfare 2's terminal level, where you could explore the inside and outside of the aircraft, or in this case, the spacecraft there. I mean, you could just use that area from the evacuation of Reach at the fall of Alexandria. New Alexandria, that is. That would be pretty cool. Because I just love these small peeks into the lives of your average everyday citizen in these fictional realms. Just to imagine what life would be like for that to be your world, for that to be your existence, that to be the world you take for granted, that to be your reality, I just think would be really cool. That's why I absolutely appreciated the Moa Burger little references in the game, and that's why I got myself a couple of the cans of the little Moa Burger Pringles. And as every Halo fan does, I will hold on to that Halo-themed food item until it's relevant again in about 15 years. But until next time, don't forget to like, comment, share, and get yourself a double kill by aiming that spunker at the subscribe and bell icon for more videos talking about the lore behind the lesser talked about vehicles in fiction. Peace!